is a Bramble Jam podcast. Hi, I'm Bran, and I love Hallmark movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark movies.
And I'm Tori, and I am in some of the Hallmark movies.
And this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Oh, what an
boy.
exciting day.
Boy, oh boy.
What an exciting day.
I think Tori just realized what the podcast is about, and she's like, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Guys, I think I have a previous obligation I have to run.
Yeah.
I got a thing
My
going on.
manager just in my ear, I'm really sorry, but there's nothing I can do. Torrey DeVitto, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Torrey DeVitto of Christmas Promise fame.
Boy, that movie caused a lot of argument within our little community. Within our little community, a lot of argument.
Did it? I'm curious why.
Someone here loved the movie.
Okay.
And
I
someone
take it
here,
it's not you.
It isn't me. But I didn't think it was. I thought the premise was unique in the movie.
Yeah.
I just had a hard time with this woman whose husband dies and he's gone for ice for 3 hours, and she's just like washing dishes and going, you think we should check on Darren or whatever his name is? Like, I know ice typically takes 2 to 3 hours, but let's check on him to make sure. But
Yeah, I get that. It's so funny that you say that, because one of the reasons I wanted to do that movie was because I was like, I've never seen grief done in a Christmas Hallmark movie.
That's right.
I was like, that's so interesting. And then, if I'm being completely candid, one of the biggest challenges I had when I got there was, I wanted to play the grief very, the way I would handle grief. And they were like, no, you have to make it grief, but make it Hallmark. And I was like,
oh,
what is that? So it was actually a really interesting acting exercise to get into that, doing grief, but on Hallmark in a romantic, drama type setting. It was really interesting.
Grief, but Hallmark sounds like an improv troupe.
But the interesting thing, it is true. You don't see grief, but you all usually if somebody's dead, we never meet them.
That's
so
right.
when at the beginning of the movie we meet your husband, I'm like, wowza.
You put a face to that name, it's a different story.
Different story.
All of a sudden, Darren has a backstory.
That's exactly right.
The only movie I've seen that you guys did a good job with it, but then there's a movie called Two Turtle Doves with you. Michael Rady was on Chicago Med, so I assume you've have met.
No, he went on the show after I already left the show. He came on this last seventh season, and I left.
That's on me for thinking that 120 episodes was the whole show. I thought you were just on it stem to stern. I guess that's on me.
No, I was there from the beginning until the end of season 6. I left. But I did do a movie with Michael years ago called It Had to Be You. I was in my mid-20s, I think.
Wow. It had to be you.
Had to be you.
But your point was that Two Turtle Doves does it well.
Two Turtle Doves, Michael Rady, Nikki DeLoach. That's the one that I think they do they don't. Now, it's not a situation where you meet the husband or fiance and then they kill him. That is a tightrope. You're on a Hallmark tightrope unlike any other at that point.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. For sure.
We don't typically start with Hallmark, but here we are. Was there a discussion about whether or not we should meet the husband? Because that's just so rare. Do you?
I know.
Was it? I assume that the script was already greenlit, but were you privy to any of those conversations about we're gonna meet this guy?
I wasn't. So by the time I got it, it was just in there that we were going to meet him. And I was like, I kind of like that because I've not seen that before. So I was like, yeah, I'm in.
It's one, we've seen 400 of these movies. So many of them we forget. We'll never forget that one. Never forget. There's just no way to forget it because it is distinct and it stands out.
There you go.
Well, let's go pre-Hallmark. Let's go back to childhood, if we will, and we will.
Yeah.
Where were you born? What were you like as a kid? How'd you kind of get into acting? Was it something you loved as a kid or something you figured out later?
So I was born in Long Island, New York. I lived there till I was 11. I was a very I liked dressing up a lot. I was very dramatic as a child. I loved like playing make believe and very girly. I wish I could say I was like a really cool tomboy. I just love that. Like I did like getting my hands dirty, but I loved like all the dresses and coming down the stairway in the very dramatic way. I was definitely that kid. So I do think that I attribute that to kind of falling into acting. I loved all that kind of drama stuff. And when I saw Les Miserables when I was about 7, I think it was what really put the acting bud in my head. Although I was playing violin, started when I was 6. And so I did that professionally all throughout high school until I got into an acting class when I was 15. And that
You
kind
did
of like
violin professionally as a teenager. I need to
Yes,
back
I
up.
did.
So you just like would book gigs as a 14-year-old?
Sort of, yeah. So I would play weddings around town. I was playing with the Florida Symphony Youth Orchestra, and we traveled to Germany and Austria. So yeah,
Wow.
it was what I thought I was definitely going to do. But then I realized I didn't get to the level where I felt like I was good enough to be a professional soloist in that way. And I just did not want to be in an orchestra my entire life. And as funny as this is, I remember in middle school going up to my parents and being like, it just kind of hurts my back. And they're like, what? I was like, just like sitting like this for so long, it just really hurts my back. They're like, get over it.
Yeah.
Was there any burnout though? Was there any burnout in like, I could do this my whole life, or I could play all these fun different roles? Like, was there any like,
Yeah.
I don't, was it like, I just can't play violin anymore? Or were you just like, it's not for me?
No, I think I just realized because when I got into acting and I was like in high school and I started working and I switched to a like professional children's high school to accommodate the fact that I was out of school so much. And my father, who's a musician, he sat me down and was like, look, like I see you're still trying to focus on violin, but you're really trying to focus here. He's like, don't be a jack of all trades. Just pick one and try to be really great at it. You can still do everything else, but like focus on one. And I was like, okay. And that's when I chose acting. I think I just realized I had more of a chance of having a really solid career with acting than I did violin. Like I said, I just didn't feel like I was quite good enough to be that like incredible. Like I wasn't going to be the next Isak Perlman. You know what I mean? So
There's like I feel like a handful of violinists
Violinist is
Great.
correct.
Violinist.
Yes.
that are like
That is a word.
like Lindsey Sterling. That's like violin, but like with pop music. Do you
Sure.
see that and you're like, I could have done that? Like, or is it really? Does it? I look at it and I'm like, that doesn't seem as hard as
Like when Yellow Card Ocean Avenue came out, was
Yeah.
every violinist like, what have I been
I
doing
could do
my
that.
whole life?
Yeah. I actually thought to myself, I was like, with bands like that or like Dave Matthews or the Dixie
Yeah.
Chicks or Yellow Card, like I was like, yeah, I could have, but I don't think I had the confidence when I was that young to take the pop route, to be honest with you. And I wish I had. I was so trained classically that sometimes when you're that trained classically, like improv is a sin in classical music. So I didn't have the confidence to quote unquote jam with people. And so I got really nervous in situations like that. And then when I was in my 20s, I met this actor, Tommy Davidson. Not my 20s, actually, I was 18 when I first moved to LA. I met
Tommy
this
Davidson's
actor.
hysterical.
Yeah, amazing. So I was waitressing at this restaurant and the wife of Christophe St. John, her name was Alana St. John. She ran the restaurant, and Christophe was on a soap for a really long time. He's since passed, but he was friends with Tommy Davidson and all these other guys that would come into the restaurant. And he had told me, he's like, "Oh, Tori plays violin. She's aspiring to be an actor." And Tommy Davidson was like, well, I'm going to do this comedy and music show at the Sunset Room, which I don't think exists anymore in LA. But he was like, do you want to play a song? I really want a violinist to play a jazz song, this song called Night Song by Noel Pointer. And I was like, sure. I mean, it terrified the crap out of me, but I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I actually did it on stage and had Brian McKnight's band backing me up. And then from there, I met Raphael Sadiq and I played a song on his album. And then I played a song on Stevie Nicks' album. So I did some stuff, but haven't in a very long time.
Played some stuff on, did you say Stevie Nicks' album?
I did. Yeah.
Unbelievable. You still got a violin around the house? You still pick it up and just like, let me give it a whirl?
I do. I do. I actually, this is the longest I've gone without playing. I actually went through this shoulder injury, unfortunately, and so I'm in a lot of pain on this left
Oh, wow.
side,
Oh
so it's
wow.
kind of inhibited it. But I do still play. And when I was on Chicago Med, they let me play twice, which was great on the show. And that was the first time I had married those two worlds together. So
Do your parents think you're lying about the shoulder injury after the back?
Yeah, sure.
You know what? Maybe. My dad's been playing drums his whole life, and he's like 71 and still like playing harder than any 20-year-old. And I'm like, I don't know, the violin kind of hurts my shoulder. He's like,
Get
get
out of
out of
bed.
here.
So your parents clearly, art background, clearly were supportive of this move to acting, even
Yeah.
as a teenager. So like, did they just trek you around to all these auditions everywhere, like when you were a teenager?
So what's funny about that is, well, they trekked me around to all my violin stuff for sure. And then when I was about 15, somebody had suggested putting me into modeling, and when I was a little younger, and my parents were like, I don't know about that. So when I started getting into that, they said, okay, here's the deal. We'll let you do stuff like that when you can drive yourself to auditions. So
Wow.
15 is when like I kind of started getting to classes, and they did drive me some places, and then like really, wanted me to start doing that when I could drive myself, because I think they wanted me to like stay a kid as long as I could. So, which I appreciate, to be honest with
That's
you.
good parenting. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Where you still lived in New York at the time?
No, so when I was 11, we moved
Okay.
to Winter Park, Florida.
Oh, gotcha.
Good
Ooh.
old Florida.
So were you doing
he's from.
auditions? I'm from Florida.
Where?
Born in Orlando. I lived in Titusville. That was where I grew
Oh,
up.
great. So Winter Park.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
He's not a big fan of Florida anymore.
I'm not a big fan of,
Torrey.
aside from
Nor am I.
no, it's hot. It's
Just spin
the
a
worst.
wheel of like criminals, bad traffic, and weather.
Yeah.
Just spin the wheel.
But I'm like,
I
I'm
know.
also I'm a diehard Orlando Magic fan too, and so that's also pain. So it's just a lot of pain when it comes to Florida.
I get
So
it.
how were you doing? Was there a lot of auditions in Florida that I'm not aware of, or what were you doing?
Yeah, so fortunately, for me growing up there, Nickelodeon was actually based in Florida when I was in high school, and now it's in LA, but it was based in Florida. So there was like, I did some extra work, and then I had like little one-liners here and there. And then there was like some WB shows before it was the CW, that filmed in like Jacksonville and places like that. And then there were some movie auditions in Miami, and I didn't book them obviously, but I remember being able to drive them and, kind of getting my feet wet with big auditions. The first audition I had was Mel Gibson's daughter for What Women Want.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I remember being like, I'm gonna get it. And I was like, what? I don't think I could like put two sentences together at that point in my career, but yeah, it was fun.
Do you have a memorably bad audition? One that just is
my
like, man,
God.
what
Yes.
happened just now?
Yes. So, there was, what was that movie? The Wayans brothers did like a spoof on all those dance movies. You know how they would do those
Yeah, I know
movies?
exactly what you're talking about. What was
Yeah,
that?
it wasn't. It was after White Chicks. What was the next
Yes.
one? What was
I
the?
can't. I don't remember, but it was like all the dance movies combined, and it was just like spoofing all of them. So I had auditioned, and then I got a call back, and then I went to producers, and then I was going to screen test, and I was going to screen test for the Wayans brothers, and I was like playing the kind of like mean girl, whatever. So I have this scene where I'm like being rude to the lead character who's like dancing, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I do like really bad dance moves, and I like come up, and in the middle of the screen test, I blacked out. Like I literally blacked out. And when I went to do my bad dancing, I was like flailing like a fish out of water. I don't even know what my body was doing. It's like my body was possessed. It wasn't mine anymore. And I start flailing, and I come up, and they're all just like this.
Oh no!
No laughter, no sympathy
No.
laugh. And I literally think I said, I'm gonna go. And I
No.
just like, what? Oh, it was so embarrassing and
Oh
so
my
bad.
gosh!
And I'm like, that's on tape somewhere, because that's when they used to
Man.
tape auditions before like
Yeah.
Gotta
digital.
find
And
that
I'm like,
tape. Where's that
burn
tape
it,
at?
burn
Yeah.
it to the ground.
Well, we actually have it right now. Can you cue that?
Cue that clip, Trace. I feel like that movie was called Dance Movie. Was it just called Dance
Yes,
Movie?
you know what? I think you're right. I think you're
Wow.
right.
What a great title.
You know,
We were really
what a
I know, right?
title. The Wayans were shooting for the stars there. So how do you get to, were you waitressing in New York, you said?
No, so that's when I moved to LA.
LA.
Okay.
So do you moved out to the LA and you're like, I'm going to do these auditions and get a waitressing job and just make a, when was that? When was that decision made to be like, I'm doing this?
So I went to this for my junior and senior year of high school. I went to a professional children's school because I was working a lot and was missing school. So that's when I made that switch, and it was a private school, so I did have to pay for it. My parents paid for it, but but when I made that switch, I think they were like, "Look, if we're gonna do this, like you have to be very serious about this. We're not just gonna do this if this is just like." And I was like, "No. I'm gonna go to LA as soon as I graduate. Like this is my path." And my dad had gone on his first tour when he was 18, so he was very excited and I think sympathetic about that and felt like he was kind of passing the torch. He's like, okay, cool. So yeah, I was doing this class where this casting director had come to my acting school, and she was like, look, when you're ready, I will set you up with meetings with managers. And so before I turned 18, when I was still 17, I graduated high school 6 months early. My mom flew out to LA with me. I met a plethora of managers, picked one who I'm actually still with today, almost
Wow.
20 years later. Yeah. And waited till June when I turned 18. And then I packed up my Explorer Sport and my mom helped me drive to LA. And I immediately got jobs. I think I worked like 4 different jobs at which I was working for a catering company. I was working as an assistant for a plastic surgeon. I was working as a waitress at Tangerine Cafe. And I was also working at Urban Outfitters.
Wow.
Yeah, just to try to make ends meet, and then auditioning, and then also, getting into all the things that an 18-year-old would get into, moving to LA for the first time with no parental guidance. So it was interesting.
I
It's a
can
lot.
see the
It's hard to get into trouble if you've got 4 jobs and
true.
doing auditions.
I know, right?
though, right?
I can see being an assistant to a plastic surgeon in LA as being potentially really beneficial.
Yeah.
Because you slip a tape into somebody, maybe I could
It was wild. Well, you know what's so funny? I actually had to quit because so I had babysat for this woman, and she was like, she was his right hand woman, and she was like, look, we're looking for an assistant. Do you need an extra job? I was like, yeah. But when I moved to LA, I didn't own a pair of heels. I wore Converse. And if I had to wear a nice dress, I wore it with my Converse. Like I didn't
That's right.
have, and when you
There you
work in a
go.
plastic surgeon's office, you have to wear business attire. And I was like, look, I'm like breaking my bank to try to dress the part to work here. Like I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And it kind of grossed me out. Like people would call and be like, oh, I opened my eye this morning and blood came pouring out. Is that normal? And I was like, I don't know.
My.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
wild. It was
Tori
wild.
and I are roughly the same age. I wore Chuck Taylors. I wore Converse every day to school in high school.
Oh yeah.
Like that
Oh, yeah.
was it. That was it. Every day. Had a black pair, had a blue pair, had a red pair.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all I ever wore.
So you know what's really, I have these vintage Converse that were my mom's, because when I was a kid, my dad was sponsored by Converse, so we used to get these really cool Converse that you couldn't really find, and they gave us Christmas Converse once.
Stop.
And I have
my
these
gosh.
high top
No.
Christmas Converse that actually have bells on the back. I've never seen them before. I bet you they're worth I have no idea.
Oh,
They're
Brandon
in
is
great
losing his mind
condition.
right now.
They're
Oh my goodness.
awesome. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I will.
The interview's over now. Brandon's gonna go.
I'm gonna go. I'm trying to figure out what I can sell to
So-
make you an offer that's worth it.
You said your dad was sponsored. Is he played in any bands we'd have heard of?
Yeah, so he played with Billie Joel for 30 years. So
Oh my
Stop.
gosh.
yeah. So all those
Are you serious?
You
Yeah.
keep telling us things
It's-
that it's just not the answer.
I
that
saw
I
Billie
expect.
Joel live 15 years ago. It's my favorite concert I've ever been to. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Wow.
so all those drum parts are our dad's. And you know what, a cool fun fact, he plays with this new group called the Slim Kings, who are great. And I put one of their songs in the new Hallmark movie coming out this weekend. So I'm excited
Oh,
about that.
fantastic. I love
Yeah.
that.
I can't get over that. That's wild. So you're working and you're doing stuff and you're booking things.
3 episodes of Drake and Josh, and I think that's of note for Brandon.
I'm sure I saw you.
Yeah, I've never seen the show, but Brand is a fan.
It's a
Yes.
great show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It holds up.
It's so funny. I'll have people come up to me about that, and I even forget that that was so long ago. I'm like, whoa.
When you audition for Nickelodeon, do they slime you on the way in or on the way out? Like, is that a mandatory slime situation?
Never been slimed. I actually would love to be slimed. I've never
Never
been
been
slimed.
slimed. Unbelievable.
Never been slimed. I know.
Get it together, Nickelodeon. I mean, you start
Right?
off these may all be just like non-speaking roles, but you start off basically trying to be the queen of the early 2000s by appearing on Dawson's Creek, Scrubs, and King of Queens. I mean, I
Wow.
think you pretty much run the gamut there. Were those all just like extra kind of things, or did you have speaking roles in those?
I had speaking roles, but they were kind of like, 2-3 liners.
I got you.
And I kind of made a fool on all of them. Like I think I booked King of Queens because in my audition, my phone started ringing and Kevin James was in the audition and my phone started ringing and I was mortified and I looked at him. I was like, I'm so sorry. It's probably my mom. And I like ran out of the room. And I think he felt so bad for me. He gave me the role.
Yes.
And
that's
then,
great.
and then when I did Scrubs, I'd never seen the show before. So I knew
Uh-oh.
who Donald Faison was because obviously Clueless.
Yeah,
I had no
no.
idea who Zach Braff was. And I thought he was one of the crew. And so I asked him like a crew related question. And he was like,
Yes.
clearly you don't watch the most talked about show on television. I was like, I was so embarrassed. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. She thought
had
she
some-
thought Zach Braff was
Zach,
crew.
could you get me a water?
Zach
Could
like
you-
a coffee, just black.
I know.
Ask me just anything.
I feel like in the beginning of my career, I had those moments where if you put him in a movie, you'd be like, oh, that's so typical that this actress is like fumbling around like an idiot everywhere. But like literally that was my life for the first 10 years in
So
LA.
what's the role that you were like, this is it? I'm an actor, no more waiting tables. What was that?
When I was 20, I booked my first series as a series regular, and it was called Beautiful People, and it was ABC Family's first scripted series. And Daphne Zuniga, I don't know if you know her, she played Princess Vespa in Spaceballs, and
Yeah.
she was on Melrose Place. She played my mom, and I remember thinking like it was the first time I did like a big contract like that, and it was very surreal. I was like, "Oh my God, okay. Like I'm in. I'm in." And it was much harder than that. But yeah, but that was the first time I felt like
16
okay,
episodes.
Is that-
too. Yeah.
How much of the series is that? Is 16 episodes?
well, it's only one season, but
One
they
season.
broke
Oh,
it
okay.
up into 2 parts. So they
Got
did
it.
like season 1A, then we took a hiatus, and then we did season 1B. But it was so fun because they actually, I think because ABC Family had never done a scripted series before, it was that and Wildfire that came out at the same time. And like they put billboards like all over New York on buses everywhere and in LA, and I'd never seen that before either. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
That is really cool.
That is neat for sure.
So basically, you walked so that Kyle XY could run.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Stop trying to like shoehorn Kyle XY.
I will
into
shoehorn
all
Kyle
these
XY
conversations.
into
I
anything and
forgot
everything.
about that show.
You should have.
He didn't.
You
Well, he didn't
should've.
have a belly button. He didn't have a belly button.
Could have
So
come on
right.
anywhere.
yes, that's the
right.
thing. No
Could've
belly
come
right.
button.
anywhere.
That's so funny.
Tori, you were regular on Chicago Med, and that will pay the bills for a long time, 120 episodes. Chicago PD and Chicago Fire, you got to be on both of those, and what I assume are crossover events. Which one's better?
Out of all 3?
No, you got to say Chicago Med. You were on 120 episodes. Of the other 2, which one's better?
Oh wow!
All the
okay.
way around. Like you
To
had to
work
choose
on
one.
or to watch?
Give me both.
Ugh. You know what? One of my best friends is on Chicago PD. So for that, I'm going to go with that one.
I love it.
But who's the bigger hero? Is it police officers,
Or
medical
firemen,
professionals, or fire?
the first responders?
Please don't
Which,
answer
that. I know, right? I'm like, which one
right.
risking their lives to save us is better? I don't know. I have to say, I think working on Med was the best because Chicago PD and Fire all throughout Chicago winter had to film outside, and we
Oh my
did it.
gosh!
So I was so grateful for that because that
So-
would have.
I've never seen an episode of Chicago Med. What do you play on that show?
I played a doctor.
So
I played
you had to do some medical jargon then? A lot of medical
a lot.
jargon?
Yeah.
Can you
A
just
lot.
run one on for me
Give
real
us a
quick?
little something,
Like a real quick, like 2 cc's of Metafil?
It's been like a year. God, you know what I was gotten really good at because we always said the same acronyms. I'd be like, I need a CBC, CMP, BMP, and talk screen or something. Like we used to just like roll that stuff off our tongue.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was really I think the whole first season, I was like shaking in my shoes. I was like, I can't do this. This is insane. Because then you also have to be fluid with all the stethoscope and what you're doing with your hands and have these big words just like roll off your tongue like you've been saying them for years and years.
That's right.
And oh my God, I wish we had a gag reel on that show. It would have been
Oh my
genius,
goodness.
but
It's
we
pretty
didn't.
like medically accurate, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, don't they have an
Yeah.
advisor on there that's like, yeah, that's
Yes.
just how you would do it?
Wow.
Yes, that's one of the things I think Med took pride over more so than some of the other medical shows out there is we really tried to be very true. And you know, Dick Wolf's whole thing is he loves to rip from the headlines. So our stories
Yep.
were real. So yeah.
Wow. What was harder, filming that show or doing your first Hallmark movie in 15 days?
You know what? It's a different beast, that's for sure. There's I loved going to do Hallmark movies because I was like, you know, the first 3 seasons, I started off Chicago Med pregnant with a husband who was passed. So my character
Wow.
cried a lot in the first season. And by the end of it, I think I did my first Hallmark movie after the first or second season of Med. And I was like, oh my God, I get 3 weeks of no crying. I was like, this is awesome. I get to just like have fun. But then, you know, you're trying to cram a whole movie in 15 days. And when you're the lead of the movie, you're working every scene all day. And I was like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, because Med, we had 9 series regulars. So
Yeah. You're number
none of
one
our
on the call
schedules
sheet. Yeah.
were crazy. And yeah, at Hallmark, you're like,
you're one on the
hold
call
it.
sheet. You're there start to finish every day.
Yeah.
And that has got to be something.
Yeah,
But the
and normally
dialogue,
their locations are like 30-minute to an hour and a half drive from the hotel too. So you're like sleeping.
oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying
Was
to find
it
time
like,
to
I
sleep.
imagine like, you know, a little bit more budget to work with on Chicago? Like, was it like, was that like a shock? Like when you went to go work for your first Hallmark movie coming from the Chicago set and then coming to the Hallmark set, was it like, whoa, this is crazy different?
No, you know what's so fun about Hallmark movies? They really like their food, their catering is amazing.
We went on Home and Family, and we've done other
yeah.
shows,
We've
but
done
Home and Family.
Good Morning America, Kelly Clarkson. Nothing wrong with those 2 shows. Home and Family's craft services was the best craft services.
Top notch.
Amazing, right?
Unbelievable.
I know. And I'm always like, and then I come back to Med and I'm like, guys, how can we step up our game here? Like this food is out of this world. And so I always felt like, and they treat you really well when you go out there and stuff. So, and I have done so many indie movies and all that stuff in the last like 20 years that I didn't really think much of it.
What was your first Hallmark movie? How'd you get hooked up with them in the first place?
I don't know. They reached out to my manager and they offered me a film. And I remember I was on break. I think I did what's crazy is I can't remember. I think I've done 4.
Was it Best Christmas Party Ever?
Yes, that was the one. And that was right before Chicago Med.
Okay.
And I went and did that. And I remember being like, the title. Can we talk about the title? I was like, I don't know. Best Christmas Party Ever. Like, and so I thought it was a working title. And then I realized, no, this is sticking. And I was like, okay, all right. But I had such a blast. I worked with Stephen Lund on that.
Steve
movie,
Lund.
We laughed so much. He's such a riot. We had so much fun. And I was like, oh, this is a good time. And then yeah, I think I've done 3 more since then, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like Hallmark actors, they use a lot of the same people. And if, you know, you've been in 3, you've probably been in 10. But like in your case, they're pretty spread out. And
you had Chicago Med going on. You were also on 40 episodes of Pretty Little Liars. Was that during all of that? Like, is that all in like the same time span?
I think the Pretty Little Liars. Yeah. So I was kind of bouncing back between, I'd done One Tree Hill and then that went into Pretty Little Liars. And I was doing Pretty Little Liars and Vampire Diaries at the same time. And then I think the first Hallmark movie came at the tail end of Pretty Little Liars or during. Yeah, because I did the finale of Pretty Little Liars during my first season of Med. So yeah.
Wow. So was there any point where Hallmark said, hey, we got this role, and you're like, look, I love it. I just can't. I've got all this stuff going on. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But that's what I love about, I have to say, one of my favorite things about the Hallmark Network is it definitely, like when you're in with them, you feel very secure, like family. Like it feels sometimes when you go and you work for certain producers or this and that, you feel a little disposable. Like, hey, if it's not you, honey, it'd be somebody else. You know what I mean? But Hallmark, you feel valued by the network, and that's what I've always appreciated so much. So even if I have to say, like, no, I just do not have the time for this right now, or this isn't the script that I love. Like, let's look for something else. They're like, yeah, sure, great. We'll come to you again. And I love that.
That's
So
fantastic.
best Christmas party ever was 2014, which was like, I feel like this when the Christmas movie boom kind of started, it was like the countdown to Christmas started to become a thing that people were talking about. And then you do not another one until 2019, I think, which was right before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then last year's movie, and then you got this one coming up. So pretty spread out. Have you seen Hallmark evolve over those years? Like what's that been like for you, kind of coming in every few years, every couple of years to do a Hallmark movie, and Hallmark's evolving and now they're under different leadership. What's that evolution like for you on your end?
Yeah, so very candidly, that's actually why there was a break between the 2019 one and the one I just did. Because there were some things that popped up and I was like, you know what? I'm thinking maybe there's some archaic views going on here and I'm not so sure that I want to really be joined with that. And
Oh, interesting.
then things started changing and people started changing and scripts started changing, and that's when I read the one that I just did,
Christmas Promise.
Christmas Promise. And I saw that the network was changing and I felt like they were evolving for the better. And I was like, you know what? Like I've been with my manager for 20 years. I love sticking with people and being loyal. And I was like, if they are evolving, like I want to be on that train to evolve with them. But I didn't know if that would happen. And so I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna do more because, I wanted to make sure that everything was kind of moving in the right direction, and it looks like it is. So I was like, great, I'm here. Let's do it.
I love that.
How about that?
Yeah.
So you did Christmas Promise last year, which I loved. And it's, I think, there's, what was it? 42 of them.
Is that 41, 42, something like that.
It was in my, I don't think it broke I think it just missed my top 5, but right. I was very high on it. And I was like,
we rank them all every year, Torrey. I promise. Like it's a thing. That's awesome. High praise.
I love that.
And like in interviews, I would be like, you gotta look out Christmas Promise. So I was very high on the movie. We talked a little bit about it, but you do that one. And then I feel like this is obviously the soonest you've done another one. So clearly you had a good time and you're ready to jump back in. This is your first non-Christmas Hallmark movie, Rippin' Time. So talk about a little bit about this project, how you got roped up in it, and if you missed Christmas.
Roped up in it. How you got roped up in it.
Yeah, roped up in it.
How you got tangled up.
Tangled up.
No, you got
roped up in it, Torrey.
I stand by it. It's a good question, and I can't wait to hear your answer.
I love it. So I got this script, and I have to be honest, like, I read it and I called my manager and I was like, who is this for? And he was like, Hallmark. I was like, really? I was like, this is phenomenal. And not saying that I don't like, I loved, this Christmas, but I haven't read many of their non-Christmas scripts. I think actually that was the first time I ever read one of their non-Christmas scripts. And I was like, I love this script. And it had so many things in it, character-wise for me that I'd never like heard about or seen in a Hallmark movie before. And I was like, this is fantastic. So I actually got on the phone with some of them and I was like, I am so excited for this film. I love the script. And I actually was meant to be on a spiritual trip in Peru that same time. And I was like, can we move some dates? And they were like, no, it's locked. And so I had to make the decision. And I actually chose the film. That's how much I love the script. And I ended up having a blast. It was so fun. And I don't watch a lot of the things that I do. It makes me a little nervous and skittish, whatever. And sometimes I'm like, but I'm actually very excited to see this.
Have you seen your other Hallmark movies?
Oh, have you seen the other ones?
I've seen bits and pieces. I watched the last one because I was excited about that one too, because I wanted to see how the grief turned out. And I was really pleased with it. And also I was with my boyfriend and his kids. So we all kind of watched it together, which was very nerve-wracking for me because I normally, if I am going to watch something, I don't watch it with a group of people, especially I'm sure like, he has, teenagers and they probably, they're very harsh critics, let's say.
Yeah. They didn't boo though, I'm sure.
No, they were so supportive. It was so great. Boo, this stinks. No, they loved it.
He's been gone for 2 hours to get ice.
But yeah, so very excited about
isn't that
one.
Niall Mater funny. He just got that dry
He's
humor
amazing.
about
Yeah.
him.
He's a funny boy.
Yeah,
He's so funny. He's so great.
we found out he started out working on an oil rig.
Yeah.
He
Yes,
was on
he
our
did.
show, just like, and just turned to acting. It's the
Yes.
wildest thing in the world. You don't hear
I
that
know,
every
like,
day.
how do you go from that to that?
Man.
It's crazy. He's got stories for days, that guy. Like,
Oh, for sure.
it's amazing.
But it is like time. We don't get a lot of time travel. How do you? Here's the interesting thing. We've gotten some time travel, and there's always. It's tough to stick the landing. I think with the time travel. So like last year there was this wild. Christopher Lloyd was in a time travel Hallmark movie. It was
come on.
Really?
I know. But the ending was real.
They didn't
real tough.
actually ever. It's tough because they don't ever commit to time travel as an actual plot device. It's just this happened that allowed us to tell this story differently. And so, is that what's going on here with Rip Van Winkle? No,
we commit.
I love it. Can you explain a little further without giving anything away?
Yeah, I know. That's always the hardest part, isn't it? So, I mean, there's experts we get involved that actually help explain certain phenomenon. So it's definitely not just talked about, but a huge plot point. And then they definitely follow through and I think stick it. It was good.
All right.
Wow.
Did I do that well without giving anything away?
Experts
They brought in experts. They brought in experts. So I don't know what else
Van
you
Winkle
want.
though. Niall Mater is.
They actually brought in Rip Van Winkle.
The real Rip Van Winkle
as an advisor. Yeah.
And I have to say, Niall had a really hard job on this movie because imagine you're playing somebody from the 1700s who is an intelligent person, but all of a sudden in 2022, everything's new to him. So it's almost very childlike, but you're also still trying to make him a intelligent man. He's not Will Ferrell and Elf all of a sudden. And it's like this really fine balance. And I remember reading it and being like, I'm glad I'm not playing that part. That's really hard. And he did such a perfect job with it. Like I couldn't have been happier. It was so great.
The tough thing about throwing the time travel and throwing somebody into modern day is like, how long do we do the bit where they're like constantly seeing things that they're amazed by?
If it's you, it would be all movie.
It would be a whole movie.
If it's Ryan, he would love to see that all movie.
I think it's always funny.
Everything.
It always works for me.
Sunglasses, camera, TV, never gets old.
Everything is mind blowing.
It's how Brand lives his life.
Yes. So I imagine.
What a great way to live.
I know. I'm just listen. The childlike wonder is what my username is. It's weird username.
I love that.
It's not.
That's
I
amazing.
lied. But so I imagine.
I'm very gullible. Okay.
Yeah, I imagine there's some of that though in this movie that I can look forward to. Niall Mater being amazed by technology.
Yes, I have to say really quick because I just saw somebody saying that said Hallmark hired experts. I didn't mean that Hallmark hired time travel experts to be like no, I meant like in the movie the characters seek out experts to help this. But I was like, that would be amazing.
Hi, I was the time travel expert on this film.
Can you imagine? This is the new Hallmark. Get me 4 science time travel nerds.
Hey, Johnny, is this how this would happen? Is this accurate? Did we get
Which
this?
would be amazing.
Yeah.
But no,
Listen,
unfortunately that was
I would pay good money in the theater to see Torrey DeVitto explain black hole theory in a Hallmark movie.
Oh my God.
Like Niall steps out of the 84-minute movie of the week to do a Chris Nolan explanation of how you see this paper. What if we fold it over and stick a pencil through it? Like I would be here for that conversation. Oh, sign me up.
I do like
Not
that.
happening.
So you do have Ribbon Time coming out. Is there anything else that you're excited about that you're involved with that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah. So, well, there are a couple things in development, so I can't really talk about them, but I am excited about them. That doesn't really give anything. I hate when people do that, by the way, and I just did
nailed it. You nailed it.
Thank you. So yeah, but other than that, just kind of enjoying life right now because I was on med for 6 years and we filmed 10 months out of the year, and so just like really enjoying. I'm about to go to Vietnam this weekend, which I'm super stoked for. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it the did you ever go to Peru?
That was one of my rapid fires.
Oh, sorry.
I really appreciate it. Go ahead. You didn't?
No, not yet. I know.
Wow.
I could tell something was.
What are you going to Vietnam
off.
for? Is it just a vacation?
No, so I've been working with this organization, Animals Asia, and we're breaking ground on a new moon bear sanctuary because they help end bear biling in Vietnam.
What is a moon bear?
A moon bear. So I didn't know what a moon bear was until I started working with them. It's a specific type of bear, and it's got a really cute name. And I have to be honest, they're not the cutest bears ever. They look like a bear mated with a badger. Like it's got the funniest looking face, but they're so cute. And at the sanctuary, they have like a whole bubble bath station for them, and you see them like playing with the bubbles and all that kind of stuff. So I'm super excited.
So I just looked up Animals Asia because, just want to be informed. This looks fantastic. Are like helping animals, is that a passion for yours? Has been for a long time, or is this like something new?
Yeah. Yeah, I love working with animals. I have rescue dogs. I recently bought a farm in 2020 that I'm trying to figure out how to turn into a dog hospice, but we'll see. We'll see how we get there.
If Bram would have asked that question, he would have asked, what roped you into Animals Asia? That's what he just said.
Which is a dynamite sentence. Moon bears are hilarious. They have this like stripe right here, and it looks as if someone put on a head. Like it's like we replaced your head with this.
Exactly.
And you can see the line. That is just an absolute treat. Last Hallmark related question. Are we going to be seeing more of you on the Hallmark
Christmas movie
now
Torrey
that,
DeVitto?
You never know. Never say never, right? I mean, like I said, I'm down for it. I've really enjoyed what's been happening and how the scripts are turning out there. I mean, I'm all in. Let's do it.
She's all in, everybody.
I love it.
All in. Give a Torrey DeVitto for a development deal. That's the cool new thing that Hallmark's doing is development deals. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Rapid fire?
Rapid fire.
We each get to ask you 3 questions similar to what we've been doing, but different because they are rapid.
You can answer as slow as you want, though.
In nature. We'll each ask you 3, and then we'll be done. Dano?
You said that the moon bear was not the cutest bear in the world. What is the cutest bear in the world?
The Cubs.
The Cub. Oh, I see what you did there.
Go Cubbies.
I got some development things in the work. The Cubs. I see what you did. Yeah.
The Cubbies. The Cubbies.
You know what? He probably heard me upstairs like, oh my God, what is she doing right now?
The Cubbies. Is it like, I can take that. Is it public knowledge that your boyfriend is a general manager?
Not general manager, manager.
Yes.
On the field manager.
Do you ever, a manager of the Cubs, do you ever pitch like trades? Do you ever go in there and you're like, hey, I've got a thing. Like maybe we could do some stuff. Are you pitching some stuff to him?
No. I stay out of that. I call in the middle of the day and I'm like, hey, babe, oh my God, the moon bears. And he's like, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Is this important? I'm like, no, that's fine.
But the moon bear.
In the dugout, when you see Manager Ross on the phone, he's not calling the bullpen. It's like, moon bears again, Torrey. Look,
it is the bottom of the ninth.
Hold on 1 second. Bring in the righty. That's impressive. Yeah. The best meal in Chicago.
I'd have to say this restaurant, Oriole. It's like a 4-hour experience, and I think the best meal I've ever had in the entire world.
4 hours.
Well, so walk me through it.
They have courses. I don't even know what you would consider the cuisine. I guess like a American mixed cuisine. I have no idea, but it's like you sit down, you don't really know what you're getting. You can tell them if you have any dietary restrictions and they'll make it happen. And it's just this 4, 5, 6 course thing, and you're there for like 4 hours, and it is delicious. I've been twice, and just amazing.
I don't know. I have a hard time.
I don't think that's going to be in the old podcast budget.
I just have a hard time with like not knowing what I'm getting.
Yeah, he's a very picky eater.
Okay. Well, then I'll do a less, because it sounds fancy, but it's not like fancy, but it is long. It is like one of those, like,
it's fancy.
Abba.
What's Abba?
It's so good. It's like a Mediterranean restaurant, but it's the best pita bread I've ever had.
All right.
Stop selling.
You got it. So you live in Chicago now. You have spent some time in New York as a kid.
Yeah.
And in LA.
What pizza are you picking? If you have to pick a pizza, what pizza are you picking?
New York.
Hands
down.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Man.
Yeah. I the Chicago's just it's a whole thing. I'm eating a lasagna at that point. Am I not?
Yeah.
I love a deep dish pizza. I just love a deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
The thing is the New York style, the ceiling of New York style is 7.5 out of 10. Like, in my opinion, like, whereas you can have really bad deep dish, but it can get to 10 of 10. Whereas New York style, like, it's all kind of in that safe zone. You know what I mean? Where it's all going to taste a certain way. And I just,
and I think that I like safe.
You like safe.
Yeah.
Well, the highest of heights of deep dish is where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
No, I
If
love
I'm in
holding
Chicago,
it, eating it.
Yeah.
I love it.
If I'm in Chicago, of course I'm gonna do it.
Fork and knife.
But
deep dish,
Sure. We could do it, but
now I'm just hungry.
yeah, me too. Very
I know.
much
What's
so.
your most memorable movie going experience? A movie that you walked out of the theater and you were like, wow, that was something.
oh God. Oh gosh. Actually, kind of recently, I think it was 2019. I went with my co-star Nick Gelfis from Chicago Med, and we went and saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of that
Holy
and being
cow.
like,
Yeah.
it was so good.
That's unbelievable.
So good.
Unbelievable. That's a great choice, man.
Do you have a best Billie Joel story that you can share?
Oh.
God, I don't know. It's so funny because, like, obviously my dad and him met when they were 18. They were like brothers. So I grew up, like, we spend every Thanksgiving together, and like it was just kind of like family. So I do have a good Elton John story because they used to do the face-to-face tour.
Sure,
you know?
if we have to, we have to do a good Elton John story,
Elton John,
we'll take
sure.
it.
So when I was like 16 years old, I had this ring that I wore on my thumb that was like kind of pointy or whatever. And Elton was walking up the ramp to go onto the stage, and me and my dad were on the side of the stage. And he gave me a hug before he walked up. And you know how he'd wear these like $1 million suits that were like embroidered? When I hugged him, my ring got caught on the embroidery on the back, and he didn't know. And I pulled it, and he walked off, and the string was like hanging. And my dad was like,
oh no,
and started laughing so hard. He's like, that was like $1 million right there. I was like, but he doesn't know that I did it. He probably thinks he did it on stage. Thank God. So
well,
I just revealed a really big secret.
He's on the line right now.
I know, this is probably his favorite podcast, and now
Elton loves Deck the Hallmark.
Elton is actually here to play the audition from Dance Flick.
Somehow he got it. It's wild.
He's got all of it somehow. Man, now I'm out of questions, but I have so many Billie Joel questions that I just feel like it's not fair because this is a Torrey DeVitto interview. But man, we have to have you back on, Torrey. That's the end of the discussion. We have to have you back.
Or you could call, we'll get Dad on next time. You can ask him all the questions you want.
I love it.
I don't know why your dad would come on Deck the Hallmark,
but I'm here for it.
Well,
we would love it.
Technically, he has a song on a Hallmark movie now, so there's your in.
Yes, we did it.
So let's talk about this song really fast, and then we'll talk about Billie Joel. Torrey, this is so much fun. Rip in Time, premiering this Sunday. Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. I think it's a 9 p.m. Start time. I think that's what they do over there. Because they're special. Torrey, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will wish you what we wish everybody else: a very Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.